This episode is sponsored by United Refrigeration and Westermeyer Industries, revolutionizing your HVACR experience. Visit URI.com for all your HVACR needs, offering real-time inventory, personalized pricing, and a nearby stock feature. Access quick pick replacement parts and branch details effortlessly. With 350 plus fully stocked locations across North America, our knowledgeable staff are ready to assist with the solutions you need. Exclusive offer. Use code ARPOD on URI.com to get a $10 gift card when purchasing the Westermeyer oil float, part number W4300-38F. These high-performance floats are not just compatible with their own oil separators, but also available as a crossover model, conveniently stocked at United Refrigeration. That's code ARPOD to claim your $10 gift card. Visit URI.com now.
The Sporlan division of Parker Hannifin proudly sponsors the Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. The Sporlan S3C series of case control products provides safety, security, and service for remote and self-contained refrigerated display appliances. The S3C family of controls includes a case controller, display module, and a valve module that all support open protocol communication via BACnet and Modbus. The peer-to-peer system is capable of standalone or coordinated control of up to 8 refrigerated cases per lineup. Using this family of controls simplifies and shortens the time required to set up new equipment or retrofit an existing system. Ask your local refrigeration wholesaler about the Sporlan S3C series. Parker Sporlan, leading the charge.
No, he called me back today, and he's, oh man, I'm sorry, I've been busier than shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's summertime, and he's like the only guy, right? So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. You're your host, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass. How's your day, buddy?
I am exhausted.
I was gonna say you've had a long
2 days.
Yeah. How's it? You had that 12-minute nap, right?
Yeah. It's I took an hour nap this morning and then had to go back to work. So it's been a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Doing tie-ins in the middle of the night for cases that got to get moved, and the electricians put their conduit 2 inches under our lines, and then we got to burn a bunch of 3-inch suction lines.
Who didn't put the lines in before the electricians had a chance to put their stuff in?
Oh no, this is existing. This is a remodel.
Oh shit, that sucks.
Yeah, so
there should be a spec. There needs to be a spec where you have to hang it like X amount of length off of there.
No, the Sparkies get to jump on all of our hangers that we put up and make look nice, and they get to scab onto all of our stuff and half-ass theirs.
I wonder, that's probably how they make a whole bunch of money. If you really don't have to do most of the work, because you just steal off the refrigerations guys stuff. We don't have to hang any hangers. We just got to put some Unistrut underneath there and.
They even put Unistrut underneath it. They literally scab on the bottom of our hangers.
Come on.
Yeah. Because our hangers because we always face the C channel down.
Yeah.
And because we're using.
Whose fault is that?
Because we're using B-line saddles, and that's how you have to do it.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's really annoying. This was bad. There was like 20 conduits underneath this, and we're right in the middle of it, and trying not to burn it with a 30 tip is hard.
Yeah. What were you doing? Glycol?
No, it's a suction line.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Your face froze for a second.
Oh, no.
I
was just thinking really hard.
There was a stroke happening. It's finally taking you. But no, like that was that. And then it just took forever. And then I had to go meet Ray Corp for commissioning. And that was a treat also. So
how'd that go? Everything go smooth?
No, one pump got burned out.
Damn
know,
pumps.
don't know how. It was fine for 2 weeks, and they start commissioning it, and then it goes poofy.
You would say it happens on those big jobs, right?
Yeah, so it's a little burned out on glycol at this point.
Cool.
I just hope everything would just go to CO2. It's so much easier to deal with than glycol. Glycol's simple, but glycol's messy.
I wonder why they don't.
Why not?
Yeah, I know. You're still running low enough suction. You could do, yeah. Why not? Why wouldn't they just do all CO2 pumped, like liquid overfeed?
Or just do straight CO2.
Yeah, the two.
Straight CO2 is just so much better. It really is. And if you got anywhere you could do geo or like a pond recovery, I am convinced that that is like the way to go.
Yeah, you were saying. So you said the other day you went back to that store and it ran transcritical for 3 days, but that was only because the coil was blocked.
Not even 3 days. It ran transcritical for, I think it was a total of 6 hours in 3 days. And it never dropped below 95 degrees outside in those 3 days. But then, and it wouldn't even have made that if there wasn't issues with the pump programming. We found that today. We could have kicked on another pump or kicked up a pump and moved some more glycol through there from the geo.
Oh,
It was only running at minimum speed. So there was an issue in the pump programming that prevented it from running a higher speed. I never even looked at it, to be honest with you. I was there trying to figure out how to get this ginormous boiler in this room. It's after we looked at it today, we were able to push a lot more out of it. It probably would have never even went transcritical.
even with the gas cooler block.
Even with the gas cooler block, even with it would have never went. Because we were getting like a 30-degree delta out of the wells.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm convinced that's the way to go. But tonight we're gonna talk about CO2 sizing.
No, what?
Or
Solenoid.
Sizing. Yep, solenoid sizing.
36 hours, reaping a very uneventful day.
Love it.
Uneventful. Anyway, such a freaking jerk. But yes, we're going to talk about solenoid sizing. So we're just going to do regular HFC, HFO type stuff, right?
Yeah. We do some CO2 stuff too in there because been seeing that.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that solenoids can just, hey, I got a 3/8 line or I got a 7/8 line, just throw a 7/8 solenoid in there. It's not the case. These units use not just the spring pressure to close, but also the pressure of the inlet to help close it. And on too many occasions, I've seen where we've had a solenoid that just intermittently doesn't close all the way. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, and sometimes there's no problem. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you go to rebuild the valve because it's leaking by, and then you go back again because you have to rebuild it again and then rebuild it again. And long story short, the whole reason for the valve not functioning properly is just because it was oversized.
The worst parts it pops up is in the winter. Seasonal changes. It seems to get worse when it's like hot, cold. That's when you get those random days where it runs too cold.
Your liquid pressure is going to be lower, right? Typically, you'll have in the wintertime, you're going to have 70 degrees saturated, whatever your headmaster set for. Or if you don't care, however low it'll go. But typically, we stop at around 70 degrees saturated for a bunch of different reasons. But yeah, so if you don't have that, once again, you don't have that inlet pressure of the liquid to help close it more so than what you would versus the summertime or whatever.
Correct. That's why it makes it worse.
It makes it badder.
And if it's in Texas, it's really going to make it worse. No, but like I've been seeing a lot of prints here lately. Like I found it last night. Like I had an island calling for an ME10. Like an ME10 is a massive valve.
Wait, ME10?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
On an island of cases. I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now without even looking at that is way too big.
Open cases or closed?
Yeah. Open cases, but still, it's way too big.
Yeah, because usually open cases are usually like in between 13 and 1500 BTUs per foot, right?
Yeah. An ME10 is good for, if you look at 407A, you just run to it real quick. What is an ME10 good for?
I'm getting there. I was getting up a calculator. It's because I'm going to have to do maths, and I don't do maths well. ME10. Oh, shiza.
I hate it when it's sideways.
Yeah, me too. All right, so
use the R22 chart. ME10.
Or we can just do E10 right here.
Yep.
3 pound pressure drop or
11. You hit 11 tons. This was 54,000 BTUs.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. That's sustainable. Sorry, I keep moving us around trying to optimize how much room we have here. But let's, I don't know, start with, we'll start here. Screw it, we'll start here. I'll go some R22. That's around yet, right? Move the calculator over yonder.
Yes, probably needs to update all these and just wipe the R22 and put 448.
And does it have R448 on here?
Some of their stuff started to come out with some of the newer documents. It's supposed to show 448/449. But not this one. This is an older one.
Gotcha. I just looked up the first one, fire Jamie. So just like on expansion valves, the liquid has to do with what's going to happen with the sizing of the valve. Also the pressure drop, right? And certain valves, we don't want a pressure drop. So if we're assigning this, if we're trying to look at, let's just say a liquid, should be liquid. Yeah. So if we're trying to size something for liquid, we basically would want to not have any pressure drop, because if we have any kind of pressure drop, if you have any subcooling whatsoever, like if you have a regular standard rack where you're running usually summertime 4, maybe 5 degrees of subcooling coming out of the condenser, unless you have one of those critically charged racks, Kevin. If you have a pressure drop across the valve, what's going to end up happening is you're going to basically change your subcooling set point, right? So when we're sizing for liquid valves, and I think we went over this with OSIG, that you're not supposed to have any kind of liquid differential across this. So let's just say let's just size the island you were talking about. What did you say? It was 54,000 BTUs, yeah?
Yep.
54,000 BTUs. Holy crap. So that's a little bit less than a half a ton. So
what?
50. Oh, sorry. 50. Oh my God. Wrong way. 54,000 BTUs. Oh my God.
You're missing a 0 there, bud.
I know. Jesus.
And you're supposed to be the smart one.
I had a very uneventful day, Shush. Divided by 12.
Why?
4.5 tons, you jerk off. 4.5 tons. So if we were going to size this, we could start here, right? We could start here with 1 PSI drop, because that's what this is. Let me move the calculator out of the way.
I generally try to hit the 1 PSI region.
100% on liquid valves, 100%. So let's stay with that. So if we were going to size that thing, it would be, 4.7, just a hair over, right? And then that'd be like a B9, right?
Yep.
Yeah. B9, yep. E9, O9, ME9. And if no one's familiar, that's basically the body style. That's normally, O means normally open, M means a manual stem. E is the extended ends. So it's not just the brass body. That's what these other 3 are here. These are the extended ends ones.
I haven't seen a brass body one in forever.
On some of the old Tyler stuff that we have, it's still on there.
What a bitch those are to cut out and repipe, because you can't really get the brass ones. So you got to play Dr. Seuss with 90s.
No, but how many times? Why can't you just rebuild it?
Sometimes you got to cut them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the older Tyler ones, they get wore out.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
So I'll rebuild it.
Yeah. So let's go right here. You'd be happy with a B9, right? So 4.7. So it's a little bit bigger than the 4.5, but
we'll take a slightly undersized solenoid than oversized.
Mm-hmm. But if we go slightly undersized, if we go down to a B6,
yeah, that's too much.
That's way too much. Way too much.
That's like an ME9 would be perfect.
Yeah. So then let's look at the other. Jamie screwed up. Let's look at the other stuff. So we have the liquid correction factor. So that's if the liquid's right at 100 degrees, right?
Yep. So it's going to change things.
Yeah. So basically what we were saying before, if let's just say outside we have a headmaster that's going all the way down to 70 degrees saturated, and then the liquid temperature is going to go probably usually you get almost maybe 10 degrees of subcooling maybe in the wintertime, what you needed on that one rack. And then so if we take 4.7 and times that by whatever the liquid correction factor is. Let's just say 60 degrees. So times 1.22 equals. So now that valve is in the winter time, it would be a 5.7 ton valve.
Yeah. Now, try that when it's ME10. It's going to be even more. And then you're going to have issues with it closing.
Yeah, so let's do that. So already if you threw an ME10 and what we were talking about, that would be 6.4. 6.4. And then multiply that by 1.22. Now remember, you do have to actually make sure you're lined up with the refrigerant. So that's something I didn't explain. Like here you have 134A. Here you have R22. So multiply that by 1.22. 1.22 equals 5. Wait a minute.
What the fuck is it?
Oh, I divided. Damn it. Son of a bitch.
Are you sure you're not the tired one?
Listen,
Do you have a lot in your mind? Something you want to talk about?
nope, nothing. I forgot what I was doing. 6.4. Damn it. 6.4 times 1.22. You're a jerk. 7.8 tons. It's oversized.
Yeah, so it was a wee bit oversized. What this is going to lead to is laggy control. It may not shut for defrost if you have it. It may not shut for temperature control. Like this was a huge problem at the Bullseye stores when they were running the single units on where they had random cases on single units, ME6s, ME9s. But you come to a point where you can't go any smaller. So an E3S 130, or I saw an E2S the other day.
Really?
I couldn't find any literature about it, but it was sitting in the job trailer. So usually an ME or an E3S 130 is generally the smallest solenoid you're going to have. So
120. 120.
Yeah, but the 120, 130, the same thing.
Yeah, I know it.
So
yeah, it's the connection size. So this number right here. So let me explain some of these numbers. So E extended ends, right? 3 is the port. S means sweat. The 1 actually means if it's an MKC1 or an MKC2 coil. So it's actually going to tell you what size coil that you need for it. The next one is how many eighths that the valve is. So 2 eighths, an eighth plus an eighth equals a quarter, right? And so there you go. That basically gives you how to break down that valve right there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what you need to pay attention to. If you look on there, like there's an E3S 130 and an E3S 120. This is right next to it. It's a 1/4 inch, and then that's 3/8. They're the same size valve porting. It's just different connection sizes. So connection sizes have nothing to do with how the solenoid is. Now, I brought this up, and it's okay. You may need a 5/8 solenoid, and you have an 1.125" liquid line. Doesn't matter. You blow it up, or you Christmas tree it down from 1.125" down to 5/8, and then back up to 1.125" if you need to. Like that solenoid size is sized on tonnage. It has nothing to do with line size. Line size is not important when it comes to this. Like you want to run the size liquid line that you need for what you need to run, but the size of the solenoid has nothing to do with that. Try to get the closest to that line size as possible. If you could choose a 1/2 inch or a 5/8, you run a 7/8 liquid, obviously choose the 5/8 valve in that size. So like an ME10 comes in a 1/2 or 5/8. If you need a 7/8 liquid, obviously choose the 5/8, so you're only reducing it to one size.
Less fittings.
So
what I was trying to do while you were doing this, that's why I was doing some more maths just to make sure that I'm not falling asleep, apparently, is taking the valve, the ME6 that we were talking about, that we were starting off with. Or actually, we went right to here. What I was trying to see is, because if you go to United and you tell them, I have this many BTUs, they're going to sell you whatever it is for 100 degrees. Now, that sizing is going to change based off of your liquid temperature. And that's what I was trying to figure out. So if we went with a B6 rather than the B9 or the ME9 that we were originally starting with the 4.7, if we have 3.8, I'm sorry, start over. If we started with the 2.9 tons for an undersized valve, 2.9 tons at a 1 pound pressure drop, and then we multiply that. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to assume that this rack is running 50-degree liquid temperature. So you multiply that by 1.27, shown right now. and then basically you have 3.683. So even if the rack that Kevin was talking about, where the BTU capacity was the 54,000 BTUs, not 5,400, like I screwed up. But if you were to start off at 54,000 and you multiplied that by getting it down to liquid temperature, going down with a beast or an ME6 would be too small yet again, unless the pressure drop basically increased. So then at that point, would it really be a big thing if we do a 2-pound pressure drop because we have that really good subcooled liquid?
Probably not.
No, right?
I would like a slightly undersized liquid line solenoid when it comes to that. Now, one thing I will tell you guys is those correction factors, I always run both ways. I'll run it if it's 100 degrees and make sure it's going to be okay. And I'll run it if it's 50 degrees or whatever the liquid line subcooling is going to be, or whatever the worst case scenario, to see what it's going to be under both conditions. Because you don't want to put a solenoid in that's going to be massively oversized at one condition or massively undersized at another condition. So you want to be able to pick the best of both conditions. You need to be right in the middle. Up here, it's only 95 for 2 months of the year, whereas it may be 70 for the other remaining months of the year, and then it's a frozen tundra of hell for the rest of the year.
Today's episode is sponsored by the RefRushield RDP Series differential pressure monitors from Westermeyer Industries, now available for transcritical CO2 systems in addition to other common pressures and refrigerants. When the filter element of your coalescing oil separator is contaminated, it can hurt your system's performance and efficiency. But how do you know when it's time to replace that filter? Wait too long to replace, and you could end up with a nasty filter blowout. But replacing too often can be a waste of time and money. The answer is installing a differential pressure monitor. The RDP Series differential pressure monitors, including the new transcritical CO2 model, are available now from Westermeyer Industries. To find out more information, email sales@westermeyerin.com. That's WESTERMEYERIN.com.
And that's what I mean. And that goes with any valve that you're sizing, right? It doesn't matter if it's expansion valve, electronic expansion valve, liquid line solenoid. You still want to size it for what fluctuations you could get. You know what I mean? I guess the other valve that we didn't size, because one of these is for liquid, right?
Yeah, you have liquid discharge, and you have, I don't know if the calculator wasn't blocking half of it, Jamie.
Stop it. All right, hold on. No, oh yeah, that was the liquid capacity. Good, we were working off the right one. All right, so let's go to discharge. I got to get rid of some of the stuff that's on my desktop.
And your desk, Jesus.
Stop it. Don't judge me, monkey. All right, discharge pressure.
Joe, empty that trash can. It's pretty full. I just throw it in a box behind here.
Yeah. I'll put a cardboard box so you can't tell next time. Thank you.
See, it looks like I'm busy.
Same cardboard box, been there for months. Anyway. Son of a bitch. All right, so discharge gas and suction valve capacities. So I don't think they have evaporator temperature multipliers.
This is where it gets wonky, guys. And this is even more, especially with the suction gas control, this is even more imperative that this is properly sized, because this can really screw you or really screw you.
So if I remember correctly, I think, help me out remember, but Joe said, I remember on suction valves, obviously we want no pressure drop whatsoever, right? Because it's going to increase our suction pressure at the case. But on the discharge side, I believe he wanted a pressure drop to help that thing close.
Correct. 2 to 5 pounds of a discharge seems to be like a sweet spot. Now, suction valves is like 1.
Suction. All right, so what are we doing?
Or discharge gas.
Okay, discharge gas. So right here, there's your sweet spot.
Yep. So I usually do like anywhere from 2 to 5, usually like 2, but a little bit less pressure drop I'm a fan of.
Okay. So that's, all right, I don't know. So if we're sizing it for, these aren't going to be nearly as, okay. Well, we have an E35. I don't know, let's do an oddball one. Let's do 20 ton.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so if we do 20 tons and 2 to 5, then the best one would be probably that one right there.
The thing you got to remember, if you're using these for discharge gas, okay, in that instance, you're going to be split. Okay, and you're probably going to have two. Say if your rack's 40 tons, when you're running full, it's going to be split between the two. Now, I will say this, like for solenoid sizing for hot gas, this is where it gets wonky.
Mhm.
Me and you were playing around with this like a couple years ago when I had all those solenoid size running that hill rack where they were like ME19s on 5/8 lines.
Oh shit! Yes, I
So it
remember that.
was a bunch of like smaller case runs, and it was so like I had inch and an eighth like EPRs, and it was they had changed the ports on them, and they had ME19s in there, and they would stick randomly, and like when it would come out of defrost, it would stick and it wouldn't shut. So it ended up being those solenoids were so massively oversized they couldn't get the pressure drop they needed to shut after defrost.
Oh, that's right. I didn't remember that, but now I do.
Guys were rebuilding EPRs, thinking the EPRs were sticking during defrost, and it was the solenoids. So what they kept rebuilding them. And what ended up happening is they should have been like E5s or there was B9s and E9s. So it was like 1.35 or whatever it is on the sheet. They were massively oversized, and we got a lot of like random overheat over temp issues because the solenoids were so massively oversized.
I had that happen at because I talked to you about the one that was I'm just gonna call it a D-Tech rack where they had the same situation and like a bunch of the valves were oversized and they ended up having to change them all out because it wasn't like an A8 valve or something that you could just change the port. It was the legitimate valve that had the big port size. Another thing that can happen with oversized solenoids, and someone now services an account that I used to take care of down in Dallas. And we were talking about this the one day, and I was wondering why on the manual stem I ended up having to change out the manual stem. We just ripped out the manual stem and put a plug in there. And I was wondering why someone did that. And so the solenoids are oversized. And so what happens is when it goes into hot gas defrost, it flutters back and forth. And actually the fluttering of the disc actually ends up breaking off the manual stem. And then the manual stem gets jammed in the solenoid. And then basically the rack is running hot gas 24/7. And then you have multiple high temps.
That's a Yasko problem too.
Is it really?
Yes. So
is that a certain kind of market? Yasko? Yeah. I've never heard of
it. Yeah, this is with the green and black racks that seems to be an issue because they're the same size solenoid on all the low temps. And yeah, so it's a huge issue. The stems walk too.
It's like the snapping off the manual stem inside there.
Snap off or they'll walk.
And it's a clean break too.
I've seen them where they're clean breaks, but I've also seen them where the stems walk, where they will literally, like, I will physically go on startup and they will all be hard backed out, and they will walk.
Really?
Because of the oscillations and the vibration of that disc when it's going through there, it ends up walking the stem loose. So that's been an issue, and we've plugged a bunch of them too. To stop it. I honestly think manual open stems on high gas defrost is bad news bears anyway. It's just another leak spot.
Since you were talking about Yasko, that someone asked me what that valve was called, and I forget. It's on the EnviroGuard type racks. It's the one that has the blue, the red, and the orange. I used to know the name of the valve. It's basically a Venturi. It looks like an injector essentially. If you rip it apart, it takes the liquid, dumps it in there. It was Hill Phoenix's answer to Hussman's cool gas defrost. Basically just took liquid and dumped it in the hot gas line.
So I don't remember exactly what it's called, but like they're magic. And
I have a picture somewhere where it's somewhere open.
I've seen them on a bunch of towers. And dude, I am convinced like those things are witchcraft. Not really, but it's pretty simple how it works. But dude, they work so good on condensers in towers. I don't know why they're not installed more. I would like to get some like data from one to see what the BTU usage is from the liquid is dropping in there. But like on the towers, I seen one in Vegas that you could grab a discharge line going into the tower.
Really?
So it's supposed to keep it from scaling up the tower because it keeps it from overheating the tubes.
That makes sense. It basically desuperheats it a little bit, so your tubes are less hot, so you're less likely to get that calcium chloride stuck on the tubes.
It works. I just don't remember what it's called. Mostly because my brain stopped working like a couple hours ago.
Oh, you should have had a great 10-minute nap.
I was too busy watching the world burn.
You want to talk a little bit about suction valves before I show what I'm going to show? Because I'm looking for something right now. Talking about I really do hate you today. Is this going to be for the next 4 weeks? Is that what we're going to do here?
4 weeks? Should be 2 weeks.
That's
It's one of those Mouska tools. So, suction gas sizing. So, suction gas sizing, guys, is where it becomes really imperative that these are properly sized. Suction gas sizing, if it's too big, they hardly close. So this is where you guys really need to watch this, and this is where you're going to end up in bigger solenoids because the capacity is reduced even more. Now, you don't want to end up with a 3-pound drop on a suction sizing or a suction solenoid because that's also going to hurt you. Because remember, every PSI equals temperature. So if you have a 3 to 5 pound drop on a suction solenoid, you may not make temp in that case. So that's one thing you guys need to watch out for as you're sizing these. If you got to walk a fine line. An ME19, which is a pretty good size look-along solenoid, is not a very big suction stop solenoid.
Yeah, I'll show that now because I'm having technical difficulties finding the picture that I'm looking for. But anyway, there you go. There's your valve. So we want to try to shoot for a 1 pound differential because, as Kevin stated before, pressure equals temperature if you haven't been living under a rock. And if we put something with a 4 pound drop across there, that's going to potentially increase our temperature by however many fold based off of what refrigerant that we're running.
Correct.
So if we were going to do an EPR for your lineup again, let's use the 54,000 BTU number. So which one would we use for a suction stop using R22? And you said it was a medium temp, so we could probably assume that we're at a 20 degree Fahrenheit evaporator.
Yep.
Oh my God, that burrito freaking hit wrong. Oh. So which valve would you do?
So we how many tons did we say?
You said 54,000 because you mocked me.
How many? I'm tired.
4.7.
Yeah. So if you go down to 4.7, I mean, an E35 is good for 4.60. So
there we go. A little undersized.
No, a little bit undersized.
No, because that's you can't do that.
So you're 3.60. So you're a ton undersized. It's not good.
Yeah, it's going to cause some pressure drop. Damn it.
Damn, that's a bad one. That is not a good application for that because it looks like you're getting an E42, which is good for 7 tons.
That's a big bastard.
Yeah. But
all right, here, let's come down here. Isn't there like a little correction factor down here?
Go over.
Evaporator temperature multiplier. Evaporator temperature corrections. Tropic. Compression plus 50 degrees. Oh, suction gas for capacities other than multiple.
Yeah, so you're going to multiply that times for 20 degrees, 0.093, which is going to derate that one a smidgen.
Yeah, but hold on. Is that for no? Hold on. Capacity is based off 100 degree condensing temperature, isotropic compression plus 50 degrees, 40 degree evaporator, and 65 degrees suction gas for capacity gases on the other.
Table on left.
Is that? Oh no, that wouldn't be for the. Yeah, that would be for the evaporators. But yeah, that was all right. So if we take the derated valve of going up to E or this one, we'd have to multiply that by 0.93. Is that right? 7. Is that right? 7.64. I don't think I've ever sized a suction stop, to be honest with you. As long as I've been doing this, yeah, I don't think so. Multiplied by 0.93 equals. That's still well oversized because we said 4.7, right? See, I wonder how much pressure drop. That's what sucks, because there's no, usually when you're sizing any other valve, you can go, having the other pressure drop will tell you how high or low basically the valve's going to go, right? So if you're running 15 degree, it's going to be even worse, right? So you can, so if we go, so for every 10 degrees, half a ton, right? That's what it looks like. Because look, it looks like it just jumped up from 20 degrees. It jumped up 1 whole ton, right? So if we go right in the middle, that'd be half. So if we're at a 15 degree evaporator, yeah, damn.
So the shit spot for that cylinder. Honestly, it's not a good application for that. And some things aren't a good application for some things. This is where like Parker valves come in, like where sports cover more of the gambit of that.
Do they really?
Yeah, if you're looking at a sport, you have all those ports you could change.
True.
And that's the same way Parker makes suction stop solenoids that are way better suited for this because you could change the ports out. So instead of it being a sport, you can make it a solenoid and you could change the port. That's where some like this bigger stuff, like that's a bigger case. Like if you had a 12,000 BTU case, that's different. You're gonna easily find a Sporlan suction stop for that. But when you're talking bigger stuff like that, like it's an A8 valve with just the piston and
no regulation.
Correct.
Or would it probably be cheaper to just not like order something special? You know what I mean?
Correct.
Oh, maybe not. That's a lot more. It's a lot more metal.
But you can get it with just the port on the top and the solenoid.
Yeah, I've seen the ones they usually use them for the oil control type solenoids for the whatchamacallit for the oil.
No idea what you're talking about.
No, so like on the jet cool system,
What you're talking about now.
yeah, instead of having the dome for the regulation, it's like flat right here. Like it still has this piece for the auto open adjustment thingy here.
The solenoid with stem on top.
Correct.
I think it's in this document.
That's what I'm rolling. I'm rolling through. Nope. I hear if I do Flowcon solenoid, maybe Flowcon. Flowcon. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Maybe. Hold on. Discharge. Ah, there it is. Ah, there we go. SC2 solenoids. There we go. See,
So like that would be more suited
for that big of a bastard. Right?
Yeah, that they also are in discharge applications. Also, when you're having like larger stuff.
Suction capacity. Okay, that does say tons. No, I just saw I got angry because I saw KW and I got angry because I don't like bad at math as it is. I don't really
like that Australian math.
The Australian math, the Kiwi math. Sorry for my Aussie brethren, but yeah, I don't really like your math. Someone called me from Australia the one day, and I was so frustrated because I was tired in the middle of the night. And he's trying to size this coil, and I was like, and I didn't know there's some people in the United States that have an Australian or New Zealand accent, and he's oh yeah, it's 54 or 13 kW. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, now I got to math.
Or when they size shit horsepower.
And I think isn't it different like per if you're running a medium temp versus the horsepower conversion to BTUs isn't the same if it's a medium temp, a low temp, or a high temp application. Like the BTUs are a little bit off, aren't they?
Bald eagles and
hand grenades.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 20 degrees. Or no, if we were doing 15, it's fine. Yeah. So this is a little bit more solid because we were looking for 4.7. This is a little bit more reasonable here.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. A lot more reasonable.
Yeah, so you have a lot more to go off of here.
Sorry.
This is a better application for that.
Not just that, but look here. So it actually tells you what happens to the capacity of the valve via pressure drop. So you can see this is suction capacity. So they have the option for 2, 3, 5, and 10, which I like when they give you the range because then you can see what the hell is going to happen to the valve, based off of higher pressure drop. Because not a physicist, I can't remember the freaking math. But so if we do 5.85, right? Because we were at 4.7 is really what we were looking for. So even if we were to go at this, yeah, we can even go with this one right here, and it would still. It would be this one. It would be this one. It'd be closer to this one. 5.28 with a 2-pound pressure drop. So the pressure drop is actually going to go down a little itty bitty bit because we're going up in capacity the higher the saturated suction. So we're not going to run a medium temp at 10 degrees for the most part. We're going to maintain 15, 18. So it's going to be in between the 5.28 and the 5.85, somewhere in that region.
Yeah.
No, so we would take an 11 port.
This is much more versatile than like for larger stuff. Obviously, for smaller stuff, it's not going to be much more versatile. You're going to hit a spot where you can only get down to a 3-port, which is still quite large. Yes. So,
yeah. I meant to ask you a question. We had problems with a certain customer putting pistol grip valves in temp. I'm sorry, not dual temp, the gravity coils. Let me put this away. We don't need to look at this anymore. In the gravity coils where you have the top one and then the serpentine one and down the bottom, and they had a pistol grip and the pressure was just swinging like a bastard because it had crazy pressure drop, because I think the rack suction was like at 10 pounds for some ungodly reason, or 10 degrees saturated for medium temp. And they were maintaining like 24. So it had a hellacious pressure drop across it. And the guy was arguing with one of the guys I know, and he's like, that's going to work. There's something wrong with the valve. And it's no, because the pressure drop's like insanely high. I know 8 valves, because they're piloted internally. It's not just using a spring, are a little bit more accurate than the pistol grip.
But when you're going to run the same problem with an A8 valve, as you decrease the rack suction, you're increasing your size of the valve. You have a higher pressure drop.
Agreed. But like the pistol grips only have X amount of sizes that they go up to. And with the size that it was doing, it was too big for that. So I recommended going with one of these valves, one of the flow cons.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go with in an EPR flow con all day long. Like, it just, you have so much more flexibility with it. Or, I'm going to be honest, the best running EPR out there is a Sword 12.
Why is that?
Because they hold like perfect.
Oh,
they're hot gas driven EPR. They just work, and they work good.
You ever seen on some of the big blue stores, they have a CROT on the CRO on the outlet of the pressure going to the header for that?
Keeps it from using too much hot gas, and then it also some service issues with that. I've seen guys mess with them, and then like cases are icing up because they can't get the pressure above 32 degrees.
So I agree with you with the pressure, right? Because they only need a certain amount of differential in order to close, right?
Yep.
But the other reason why I thought they were there was because you have that remote header, right? So the rack might be behind you, the remote header's over here. And if you're not really using a lot of gas to modulate those valves on a colder ambient, sometimes you'll have condensing happen in that freaking line. If you have it at whatever discharge pressure is 70 degrees saturated, and let's just say it's fucking 50 degrees in that room, that hot gas isn't really sailing through there. So it lets it acclimate to the room temperature and basically subcools all the line in there. And that's what causes, sometimes you'll see the frosting, like go from the head of the EPR right at the tail end into the suction line.
Yeah. What's really bad about that, the Hussmann cool gas racks. They're real bad about doing that.
Really?
Yeah, because they use the cool gas from the receiver to do the pilot lines, so it doesn't take very much to condense that because it's already vapor.
Oh,
down vapor.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to lose that superheat. So that's why in the Hussmann racks you'll see that happening a lot more. There's nothing you really do about it either. You could insulate the line, but there's nothing you could really do about it.
I'm really irritated because I can't remember what that valve is. I've been looking for it off and on.
CROT.
No, not that valve. The freaking tricolor valve that I can't remember the damn fucking thing.
AMOT, and it's not an AMOT. It's a
AMOT's an oil. It's basically an oil thermostat.
Those things will ruin your day. Cut one of those out is horrible.
Anything that messes with oil on a screw rack is going to be an awful day.
Oh yeah, it's just oil everywhere. Just thick, nasty oil everywhere. on that note, I think we're going to call it and have a good night.
Later, guys.
And no, I won't do it.
You're an asshole.